Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Amida. Today we are gathered spiritually in the compassionate light of Amida Buddha, and to be together with the help of technology to observe our Hatsubon Obon service. We honor our loved ones who have passed and acknowledge that it was their efforts that have made our lives possible. Our hearts grieve, especially with those families who have lost a loved one this past year. However, the Nembutsu maintains our connection with them. Please join me in expressing our gratitude to those who have passed on and are now one with Amida's wisdom and compassion. Please join me by reciting the Nembutsu. Namu Kie Butsu, Namu Kie O, Namu Kie So. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Amanda. Mr. Hisashi Sas Yamamoto. Mrs. Sumie Amano Nakashima. Reverend Teshi Aoyama. Mrs. Kisae Ohara. Mr. Kirk Eiji Akahoshi. Mrs. Pat Kaoru Heyamoto. Mrs. Chieko Yagi. Mrs. Yukie Ebina Heiner, Mr. Michael Mitsuo Doi, Mr. Ned Ichiji Iguchi, Mr. Rodney Oyama, Mr. Edward Yukio Iwashita, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. Before I introduce today's speaker, we wanted to take this opportunity to announce the recipients of the Temple Scholarships. For this, we turn to Patty Nakamura of our Scholarship Committee.
Hello, everyone. I'm Patty Nakamura, and I'm here today on behalf of the Temple's Scholarship Committee. It is my pleasure to congratulate the 7 students receiving Temple scholarships for the coming academic year. The Honda Memorial High School Graduate Scholarship goes to Kyle Baker, a graduate of Mission Bay High School, who will be starting at San Diego State University this fall. Kyle's parents are Carol and Michael Baker. We are also awarding 6 scholarships for students in continuing education with the Kashima Memorial College Scholarship. Reverend Honda will be a senior with a major in journalism at San Diego State University, and his parents are Ralph and Avis Honda. Sarah Matsumoto is continuing postgraduate work in physical therapy at Palomar College. She is the daughter of Richard and Rosalinda Matsumoto. Trevor Muraoka will be a junior in mechanical engineering at the University of California at Berkeley. He is the son of Ken Muraoka and Sharon Kang. Davis Ong will be a junior with a major in sociology at the University of Arizona. His parents are Ann and Mike Ong. Haley Sasaki will be a junior with a major in cognitive science and economics at the University of California, Davis. She is the daughter of Lauren and Brian Sasaki. Mark Torrio will be a senior with a major in electrical engineering at San Diego State University. His parents are Glenn and Janet Torrio. Please join me in congratulating these fine Temple youth. And on behalf of the Scholarship Committee, we thank the Sangha for their generous contributions, which make these scholarships possible. Thank you.
Our guest speaker today is Reverend Matt Hamasaki. He's the resident minister of the Buddhist Church of Sacramento. Prior to that, he served in the Central California District. Reverend Hamasaki grew up in Berkeley. He's known in San Diego as his wife, Michelle, has a large extended family here in San Diego. He has provided us with a video Dharma talk. Reverend Hamasaki.
Hello everyone. Thank you Reverend Akahoshi and the San Diego Buddhist Temple for allowing me to be the speaker for today. We're here for the Hatsubon service. And this Hatsubon word is made up of 2 parts. Hatsu being the first, and then bon, of course, meaning Obon. So this Hatsu is meaning first comes from this Japanese idea of the first thing, and while that might seem not so important, it's really interesting how they use this word throughout their culture. So outside of this Hatsubon, when we have a beginning of a new year, each time you do something for the first time in that new year, it's Hatsu and then whatever the thing is. For instance, the first meal you have in the new year. So this is important in the culture because it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the year. So for instance, if you have a hamburger as the first meal of your year, then maybe you'll have kind of a hamburger kind of lifestyle for that year or something. Anyway, that's how it was explained to me. So all the different things that you do, your first meal that you have, the first time you go to temple, the first party you meet up with all your friends, these kind of set the tone for the year, and so that's where Hatsu kind of starts there. I've also been recently understanding a different way that it's new, and that's when a child is born and the first things that they do, the first solid foods they eat, or the first steps that they take, those are all Hatsu as well. So again, this kind of meaning the first thing, but the meaning is a little bit different because these are the first forever. They will never get another first steps or another first word. That one is kind of set for the rest of their life. So it's a little bit different than the version for the beginning of the year because we have a new year every year. And so there's a little bit of a different maybe feeling in the superstitious way, but then also just in the reality of how this is the first time for the rest of their life that they're going to be able to do it. And every time after that, it's a repetition. So now going to the other part of that word, the Hatsubon, the Obon part. The Obon festival is something that actually predates Buddhism coming into Japan. So traditionally, there was the idea that the spirits come back from the spirit world to spend a little bit of time with us during the specific time of year. There's different explanations for why it is during the summer. One of the explanations that I really like is the idea that the spirits come back on the backs of dragonflies. And so since this is the time when there's a lot of dragonflies, this is when the spirits come back. But the tradition is that people go to the cemetery, go to the graves, they clean up the area, make sure everything looks very nice, burn some incense, and they also bring maybe foods that they liked or drinks that they enjoyed. Of course, the idea being that they're coming back, and so to entice them and to make them happy, we have those things ready for them for when they come back to this world. And that way we're able to spend some time with them, to enjoy their company, even though their physical form has already passed on. So that's the Obon side from the Japanese culture. And then after Buddhism came into Japan, then we have another understanding of Obon. And the Japanese inherited this story from the Buddhist tradition. So the Buddhist explanation of Obon is that there was a monk named Moggallana, and in Japanese that's Mokuren. And he was one of the disciples of the Buddha. And one of the great disciples of the Buddha, very, very smart, good at the practice, and through his training, he was able to then see into different realms. And in one of these realms was his mother, who had recently passed away. So she was in the realm of the hungry ghosts, which, as it sounds, is not a very fun realm. Everyone is hungry, and this is supposed to be as some kind of punishment from their previous life. Because they were so insatiable in their greed or their selfishness, they now have to suffer in the realm of the hungry ghosts. And it's called that because everyone is hungry, because their mouths are very, very small. The only thing that they can eat with are these really, really long hashi, these really long chopsticks, and so they can't feed themselves. And anytime food or water gets put close to their mouth, it bursts into flames. So they're constantly hungry, always insatiable, and it's from this lifestyle that they lived in their previous life. Moggallana's mother is there because as he was growing up, she was very kind to him as a child, but she was overly compassionate. She cared too much in that she would neglect the people around her. As long as her son was okay, as long as he got the best things, she was willing to take from others, to be selfish, to be greedy, so that her son could have the best. When Moggallana saw his mother there, it brought him great grief. He was very distraught and stressed out. And so he went to the Buddha and asked the Buddha what he should do to help his mother be freed from the suffering. And the Buddha told him to make an offering to the Sangha, to the monks. And Moggallana did so. After doing that, he used his powers again to look into the different realms and saw that his mother was freed from the realm of the hungry ghosts. In seeing that she was free from the suffering, he was so happy and overjoyed that he began spontaneously dancing. And that's the Buddhist explanation for why we dance during Obon. Now, with our understanding of Buddhism, whenever we hear legends or stories, I was taught that the question that we ask is not whether or not it's true. That's the wrong question. Rather, the question is, what can we learn? What can we learn from these legends that we hear about? And I think that there is great strength and importance in the literal understanding of these legends, of thinking that they actually happened the way that they did. Just like I think it's important that we understand that the spirits come back from the spirit world in a very literal sense. At the same time, there's different ways to look at it, different ways to understand it that might be also helpful for us when we come to this time of year. And one of the ways we can understand it, at least in my opinion, is that perhaps Moggallana had some personal issues after his mother passed away. Perhaps he hung on to the negative emotions of grief, of regret, of guilt of his mother's actions, because he was the recipient and kind of this unaware agent or participant in her selfish acts. And so because of that, it seems to me anyway that he was carrying some guilt carried from his mother. And going to the Buddha, he expressed this regret or guilt that he had about his mother and how he was unable to change anything because she had passed away. And the Buddha told him that he had to live in this moment, essentially. He said to do something in this present life, and not just anything, but do something compassionate for others. And I think the message that the Buddha gave to Moggallana was the same message that would be echoed by Amida Buddha, is the same message that would be echoed by our loved ones that have passed away, that it's important for us to let go of that guilt, of that regret that we might hold on, and continue to live in this moment, in this life that we have now, and to do compassionate things. Going back to this idea of Hatsu, of the first, this is the first Obon for some people that have lost someone in the past year. And it's very difficult. I think a lot of us, when we lose someone that we love, we have these feelings of guilt, that we have these feelings of grief, that we also might have these feelings of regret. And that's okay. For us to really reflect on ourselves and recognize the truth of our experiences. And maybe there were things that we didn't get to do, things we didn't get to say. We just maybe feel like we didn't have enough time with them. And while it's okay to have these feelings, I think the wish of the Buddha, the wish of our loved ones, is for us to continue living. And that's where this idea of Hatsu, the first time we'll ever have it, is important. Following this, it won't ever be the first one. There'll always be a way to look back and think about, oh, I remember the first time, the first Obon, that it was without them and it was tough. But now it's the second one and it's a little bit easier because we went through it, we came out on the other side okay, and we realized that life will continue, and more so than life continuing, life can be okay, life can be good. And when we have that behind us, when we can look back in our rearview mirror and realize that we're going forward in the right direction, it helps for us to deal with that kind of grief and regret that we might have. It's not going to happen all at once. It isn't this immediate change, but gradually those kinds of feelings we're able to let go of and really be present in the moment, while at the same time recognizing how much we cared for the people who we've lost. So I hope as everyone continues with their Obon celebrations, we have these two aspects where it's both a little bit happy and a little bit sad, at the same time. Just as Mogolana was happy that his mother was free, but also sad that she had passed away, just like in the Japanese tradition, where we're happy to have our loved ones who have passed away back with us, but also sad that they aren't here in physical form. If we can have that same feeling for our Hatsubon, our first Obon, knowing that it's sad because we no longer have that person in their physical form, but happy knowing that they're no longer suffering and hearing their wish for us to continue on in our life, to be compassionate, to really appreciate the life that we have while we have it. It will help us to understand and experience the meaning of Obon to the deepest ability. If you could please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namman Dobs, Namman Dobs, Namman Dobs.
Thank you, Reverend Hamasaki. Although we were not able to meet together on an on-site service, we are grateful that technology has enabled us to hear this message from you. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we are sorry that we will not have an on-site Obon Odori or dance, nor will we have one at Balboa Park. We hope that we will be able to do so next year. This concludes our Hatsubon Obon service. Please join me in expressing our deepest gratitude to all those who have passed on, who have made our lives possible. Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.